The day started like any other, until it didn't. 13-year-old Tiana Caldwell walked home in her favorite green hoodie, lost in her thoughts. She wasn't bothering anyone. Then, without warning, a cop slammed her onto the concrete, snapping her arm like a twig. What the officer didn't know, her father wasn't just any man. He was a world champion fighter with nothing left to prove, except that his daughter mattered. It happened on a Tuesday evening, one of those exhausting days where your legs ache, your brain feels foggy, and all you want is a cold drink and a hot meal. Tiana had just finished track practice at Stanton Middle School in Modesto, California. Her earbuds buzzed with music, her backpack hugged her shoulders, and she took her usual shortcut down Madison Street. The sidewalk was cracked, the fences sagged, and the grass looked faded under the sun. Her hoodie, oversized, slightly worn, a gift from her dad last Christmas, usually made her feel safe. Hidden. But today it made her a target. A white Ford Explorer with tinted windows and a police decal rolled up behind her. She didn't notice at first, not until it stopped at the corner. When she turned, the officer stepped out. No flashing lights, no urgency, just that slow, stiff walk that made even innocent people nervous. "Hey, you," he called. "Come here." Tiana tugged out an earbud. "Me? You see anyone else around?" His voice wasn't loud, but it dripped with irritation, like she'd already done something wrong. She approached carefully, confused, but calm. "I'm just heading home from practice." "You live nearby?" She nodded, gave her name, answered his questions about the hoodie, her route, whether she had ID. She kept her voice soft, polite. Her dad had taught her, stay calm, don't argue, no sudden moves. But Officer Brett Halverson didn't care. In one brutal motion, he grabbed her wrist. "Wait!" she gasped. "Turn around!" She never got the chance. He twisted her arm, wrenched her backpack, and her feet skidded off the curb. As she fell, she threw out her right arm to catch herself, just as he yanked it backward. The snap was drowned out by her scream. Across the street, two strangers froze, then fumbled for their phones. A woman shouted, "She's a kid! What are you doing?" Halverson ignored them. He dug his knee into Tiana's back, grinding her face against the pavement. Her right arm hung useless, white-hot pain shooting up to her shoulder. She sobbed, trembling, trying to understand. "Stop resisting!" He barked at the air, as if she'd fought back, as if she'd run, but she hadn't. She just hadn't moved fast enough for him. By the time backup arrived, Tiana was curled on the ground, her arms swollen beneath her torn sleeve, blood smearing her elbow. An older officer took one look and cursed. "Back off, Brett." The woman filming stepped closer. "I got all of it. She never touched him." In the ambulance, a medic asked her name again. Between shaky breaths, she whispered, "Tiana Caldwell." That name, that last name, would change everything. What started as a routine stop would ignite a firestorm by sundown. Hospital lights glared too bright. The air reeked of bleach and plastic. Tiana lay on the ER bed, her face streaked with tears, her arm locked in a cast. The break was clean but ugly, a spiral fracture, the doctor said, the kind that happens when someone wrenches too hard. Her mother, Kendra Monroe, sat beside her, jaw clenched, fingers gently stroking Tiana's leg through the blanket. She hadn't spoken much, not to the nurses, not to the cops. Her silence wasn't shock, it was fury. Every few minutes she'd glance at Tiana's swollen arm, then at the door, as if waiting for a storm to arrive. Then, without a knock, without a sound, the door swung open. Donovan Monroe stepped inside, tall, broad, still. The kind of calm that made people uneasy. His gaze didn't wander, it went straight to the cast. Tiana tried to sit up. "Dad!" He crossed the room in 3 strides, took her good hand and pressed a kiss to her forehead. Not a word. Not yet. What happened? His voice was deep, steady. Kendra opened her mouth, then stopped. She let out a sharp breath and stood up. They said she resisted. Some cop claimed she looked suspicious. He broke her damn arm, Don. Tiana's eyes welled up again, but she bit her lip. Her dad was here now. That meant things were about to change. Donovan turned to her. "Did you resist?" "No," she whispered. "Did you touch him?" "No." "Did he say why he stopped you?" She shook her head. "Just asked where I was going. Then he grabbed me." Donovan leaned closer, his voice quiet but razor sharp. "I want you to remember every detail. We're writing it all down tonight. Okay?" She nodded. A tear escaped. He caught it with his thumb. When he stood, his movement was slow, controlled. Kendra handed him the intake form. "Brett Halverson, Modesto PD, badge numbers on the report." Donovan read it once, folded it neatly, slipped it into his coat pocket. "Is there footage?" Kendra nodded. "2 people filmed it. 1 clip's already going viral." Silence. Just the clench of his fists at his sides. "I'll talk to the chief," he finally said. Kendra studied him. "You sure you don't want a lawyer first?" "Oh, I'll call one." A pause. "But I'm going to see him in person. They need to look me in the eye when I tell them what's coming." The way he said it, calm, cold, absolute, sent a shiver through her. Not fear, not doubt. Just the quiet certainty that something in her husband had snapped. He'd been out of the fight game for years, left the fame behind, opened a gym for kids, stayed low-key, did the occasional interview, taught teenagers how to throw a punch without losing control. But this wasn't about control anymore. This was about his daughter. Tiana watched him from the bed. "Are you mad at me?" His eyes softened, just for her. "No, baby, I'm mad for you." She sniffled. "I didn't do anything wrong." He knelt beside her, voice barely above a whisper. "I know, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows." Then the door opened. Just a nurse this time. But Donovan was already on his feet, phone in hand. There were calls to make, not to friends, to reporters, to lawyers, to people who owed him favors, to those who remembered what he'd done in the octagon, to those who never forgot who he was before he vanished from the spotlight. He wasn't coming back to fight in a ring. He was coming back to end this outside of it. But Donovan Caldwell didn't scream. He left marks in quieter ways, long before he was a father, before he taught self-defense to kids in a strip mall gym off Crowell Road. He was the technician. That's what the fight world called him, not because he hit harder than anyone, though he could, but because he was surgical, precise, unshakable under pressure. A fighter who wasted zero movement, born in Stockton, California, raised by his grandfather, a retired army mechanic who believed in 3 things: order, discipline, and always leaving your shoes by the door. Donovan lived by it. At 14, he wandered into a boxing gym across town and never looked back. By 24, world champion, magazines, endorsements, but fame never fit him. It made him quieter. While other fighters partied, he studied tapes. While they bragged, he listened. That's why he outlasted them all. Then after his 3rd title defense, he walked away. No ceremony, no farewell tour, just left his gloves on the mat and disappeared. Married Kendra 2 years later. Opened a gym in Modesto. Started working with kids 1 bad choice away from ruin. No cameras, no glory. Just sweat, discipline, and second chances. Word spread, parents brought their sons, teachers sent students. Even the police, ironically, referred troubled teens to him through juvenile programs. He never turned anyone away, but he had rules. No swearing. No tough guy acts. Fight at school? You're out. Lie. Run laps. He taught his kids to look people in the eye, to never throw a punch unless it was the last option. Now his daughter was in a cast. Hurt by a man with a badge. A badge that let him use force without answering for it. That didn't sit right with Donovan, not as a father, not as a fighter, not as a male. The next morning, he stood alone in the gym. Sunlight cut through the high windows as he tightened the ring ropes. Terence Jones, one of his oldest students, walked in early. "Coach, I heard about Tiana. She okay?" Donovan gave a single nod. "She's resting." Terence exhaled. "Man, that video's everywhere." "My sister sent it to me last night," Terence said, shaking his head. "That cop messed her up bad." Donovan didn't answer at first, just kept adjusting the ring ropes, his hands moving methodically. "You gonna do something?" Terence pressed. Donovan finally looked at him. "What do you think?" Terence almost smiled. "I think he's in trouble." But Donovan's face stayed stone. "Number. We're in trouble, all of us. If people think they can do that to a kid on a sidewalk and walk away like nothing happened, then this isn't just my fight." Terence dropped his gaze. "Yeah." That afternoon, Donovan called Nicolette Grady, a freelance journalist who'd trained at his gym years back. She covered stories the mainstream outlets ignored. He trusted her. Didn't trust many. When she answered, she sounded shocked. "Donovan Monroe? Haven't heard that voice in a decade." "Need a favor," he said. "You still got your camera?" "Always." "What's going on?" "Holding a press conference tomorrow. My gym, noon. I want you there to film it." A beat of silence. Then, "Press conference for what?" "And for a cop who broke my daughter's arm and thought no one would care." The line went quiet. Then, "I'll be there." Donovan hung up and stared at the gym's wall of black and white photos, fighters he'd trained, kids who'd grown up under his watch. Some had careers now, families, some were still finding their way, but they'd all learned one lesson from him. When someone comes at you, you don't run, you respond. Now his own child was the one hurt, and that changed everything. By the time Donovan walked into the Modesto PD the next morning, the receptionist already knew his name. "Mr. Monroe," she said, standing too fast. "Chief Arliss is expecting you." She led him past rows of desks to a side office with dingy carpet and flickering fluorescent lights. Chief Harold Arliss, a man in his late 50s with a drooping mustache and a gut straining his belt, stood to shake his hand. "Donovan," the chief started, forcing a smile. "Listen, I just want to say, I'm not here for sympathy," Donovan cut in. "I'm here for answers." The smile vanished. "Of course." They sat. A detective joined them, laptop ready. The room reeked of stale coffee and old paperwork. "I want to see the body cam footage," Donovan said. Chief Arliss shifted. "It's part of an internal review and—" "I don't waste my time," Donovan said, leaning forward. "I already have 2 cell videos. Now show me what your officer recorded." The detective hesitated, then turned the laptop toward him and hit play. The footage crackled to life. Timestamp 4:26 p.m., Madison Street. Tiana walked into frame, earbuds in, backpack snug. Halverson called to her. She approached, calm, answered his questions clearly, never raised her voice. Then, without warning, he grabbed her wrist, twisted her arm behind her. Her scream tore through the speakers. The sickening snap followed. Donovan didn't flinch, didn't blink, watched as Halverson drove his knee into his daughter's back, heard him bark, "Stop resisting!" as her face twisted in pain. The detective paused it. "That's enough," Donovan said quietly. Silence hung thick. Chief Arliss cleared his throat. "The incident is under review. Officer Halverson claimed she pulled away." "She didn't." "I understand that's how it appears. She didn't." Donovan's voice sharpened. "I want him off the street. Today." Arliss sighed. "He's on administrative leave while we investigate. Protocol requires—" Donovan stood. "Your protocol let a man put a child in the hospital. That's your system." He didn't wait for a reply. Walked out. In his truck, he sat for a long minute. No radio, no AC, just the echo of Tiana's scream in his skull. Then he called Nicolette. "You ready for the footage?" "You got it." "I need it seen." Double asterisk. That night, Nicolette uploaded a split-screen, body cam footage beside a cell phone video. No commentary. Just raw footage overlaid with one line in bold white text. "This is how you treat a 13-year-old girl." By morning, 200,000 views. Twitter erupted. Parents flooded the PD with emails. Halverson's name trended. At breakfast, Tiana scrolled through comments, some supportive, some cruel, then set her phone down. Donovan studied her. "Want me to stop?" She shook her head. "No." He nodded. "Then we don't stop." And that afternoon, Donovan started calling parents of his students, former fighters, teachers, past clients. He wasn't organizing a protest. He was gathering witnesses, people who'd seen what quiet injustice could do, people with stories that needed to be heard. He called it a community meeting. But in his mind, this was the first round. By noon the next day, the gym was packed, not with fighters, but with folding chairs, cameras, and a tension so thick it felt like mat padding underfoot. News vans lined the street. Former students stood shoulder to shoulder in back. Parents sat up front, some still in work uniforms, some gripping their kids' hands. And at the center of it all, Donovan Monroe. Standing alone in the ring he hadn't fought in for 10 years. Black polo, no logos, no expression. Nicolette waited just outside the ropes, camera ready. The room held its breath. The camera rolled, his gaze locked onto the lens. No throat clearing, no waiting for silence. He just began. "My daughter's name is Tiana Monroe. She's 13 years old, and 2 days ago, on her way home from track practice, a police officer threw her to the pavement and broke her arm because he decided her hoodie made her dangerous." He didn't blink. She didn't resist. She didn't run. She answered every question, and she still ended up in a hospital bed, sobbing because a man with a badge looked at her and saw a threat. The room froze. No camera flashes, no coughs, just the crushing weight of his words pressing against every ribcage. "I've spent 15 years teaching kids how to defend themselves, how to stay calm, how to walk away from violence. I thought I was doing the right thing." A pause. "But now I'm asking, what's the point of teaching restraint when the people with power don't have any?" The silence thickened. "Officer Brett Halverson lied in his report, said she pulled away, said she was confrontational, said he had no choice." Donovan held up a flash drive. "This is the body cam footage. I've given copies to journalists. You can watch it right now. Every word he said, a lie." Murmurs erupted. Phones lit up as people searched for the video. "I'm not here to condemn every cop. I'm not here screaming for revenge. I'm here because my daughter is afraid to walk outside, because she flinches when someone steps behind her, and because if we let this go, we're telling our kids their pain doesn't matter." He stepped forward, voice dropping to a blade's edge. "I didn't raise my daughter to live in fear, and I damn sure didn't teach her to stay silent." A beat. Then he stepped out of the ring. "Neither should you." The reaction wasn't applause, it was motion. Parents stood. A father held up his phone, the video already playing. A reporter from KMOD 11 shoved through. "Mr. Monroe, will you press charges?" Donovan didn't glance at her. "I'm making sure he never touches another child again." Later, outside the gym, cameras trailed him to his car. He ignored them. Interviews weren't why he'd come. At home, Tiana sat on the couch, arm still in a sling, watching the live stream. Kendra rubbed her back. "Why didn't Dad ever talk like that when he was fighting?" Tiana asked. Kendra's smile was faint. Because back then he didn't have anything to prove. Donovan arrived hours later, passed the lingering cameras without a word, kissed Tiana's forehead, kicked off his shoes. Saturday, no more spotlights. Just his family. By midnight, the speech hit 500,000 views. Officer Halverson was placed on indefinite leave. The mayor issued a statement. The PD promised a full review, but Donovan knew better. Going public was just round one. And Donovan Munro didn't lose fights he took personally. Modesto wasn't a town that changed fast. Church on Sundays, Friday night lights, yard sales and gossip over fences. But after Donovan's press conference, something cracked. It started with the kids. Tiana's classmates, some who barely knew her, showed up in green hoodies, her name scrawled on masking tape stuck to their sleeves. A group stood outside the principal's office before first bell, holding signs. She could have been any of us. 13 is not a threat. The school called it a disruption. Parents called it truth. Emails flooded Kendra's inbox. Teachers checking on Tiana. One confessed her nephew had been stopped 5 times last year for walking home from practice. At Donovan's gym, attendance doubled. Kids brought friends, parents lingered. A mechanic named Victor Lozano asked to scrub bathrooms for free. Just want to help, man. Strangers slipped in with envelopes of cash. No names, just thank you. But not everyone approved. Donovan woke to "Keep your mouth shut," spray-painted across his garage in blood-red letters. That night, 3 blocked calls. On the 3rd try, a voice. "You're going to get someone hurt." He filed a report. No one followed up. He didn't stop. A week later, Deputy Chief Pamela Greer called. "Meet me. No cameras." They chose a diner with sticky vinyl booths and walls plastered in old photos. She was already there, coffee in hand, eyes darting. "I'll be honest," she said, as he sat. "The department's under real pressure." Donovan said nothing. "We've got officers demanding Halverson's reinstatement." She continued, stirring her coffee. "Others want him fired, the chief's stuck in the middle, and the mayor's losing patience." Donovan folded his hands on the table. "You didn't call me here to talk about politics." "No," Pamela admitted. "I called you because this town is splitting down the middle, and right now, more people are listening to you than to him." He studied her. "What are you asking?" "Need time, space. Let the internal process work. The investigation's ongoing." "You've had your footage," Donovan cut in, voice low. "Since the night it happened, you sat on it." "I didn't. The department did." She exhaled. "And now my daughter flinches when someone knocks on the door." Pamela leaned back. "What do you want?" "What charges?" His badge. And someone in uniform to say out loud what he did was wrong. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Pamela reached into her bag and slid a folded file across the table. "What's this?" "Anonymous complaints. Halverson's name comes up more than once." Donovan opened it. 3 reports, all dismissed, all involving young Black and Latino kids. At home, Kendra read the file, jaw tight. "Until now," she muttered. Donovan paced. "We go louder?" But Brett wasn't done, and neither was the truth. The more Donovan spoke, the more others found their voices. But as the truth grew louder, the backlash turned uglier. Tiana's school counselor called one morning, voice strained. "Keep her home today. We've had threats." Kendra hung up to find Tiana eating cereal left-handed, her sling off, but her movements still careful. "Mom, am I in trouble?" "No, baby. Some people just get scared when the truth gets too loud." Tiana stared at her cereal. "I didn't ask for this." "I know, but we're not backing down now." By that same day, Donovan spotted a stranger idling in a car across from the gym. Not a parent, not a student, just watching. When Donovan approached, the man sped off. That evening, an envelope slid under the gym door. No note, just a photo of Tiana leaving school, her face circled in red marker. Kendra reached for the phone. Donovan stopped her. "Won't matter." He installed cameras, had staff walk kids to their cars, started arriving early for Tiana's pickups. Then came the final push from the person they least expected. Tiana had been quiet all week. No complaints, no tears, just watching her parents watch over her. One night, Donovan came home to find her on the couch holding his old GoPro, recording. "What are you doing, T?" She didn't look away from the lens. "I have something to say." He sat beside her. She hit record. "My name is Tiana Monroe. I'm 13. A police officer broke my arm because he thought I looked suspicious. I didn't resist. I didn't yell. I didn't even know what I did wrong." A shaky breath. "I don't want pity. I just want to walk home without being scared. I want to know I matter enough for someone to say what he did was wrong." She stopped recording and handed him the camera. "Think anyone will care?" Donovan smiled. "They already do." He posted it raw, no edits, no music. By morning, 500,000 views. Local news picked it up, then national, then global. Messages flooded in from families, teachers, even former cops, but one stood out. A DM from Jordan Cates, a Modesto patrol officer. "Halverson's done worse. Your daughter's not the first. If you're serious, I'll talk." Donovan met him at a library outside town. Jordan arrived in a hoodie, face tense, no handshake, just. 3 years ago, Halverson was flagged for excessive force, twice. One kid got a concussion, another had bruised ribs. Reports disappeared. Why? Jordan glanced over his shoulder. Because the families didn't push back. Some never even saw the full reports. "And now? I'll talk, but this burns everything down. You ready for that?" Donovan leaned in. "Try me." 2 days later, Jordan slipped into the gym, a flash drive sewn into his jacket lining. "Don't tag me," he muttered, pressing it into Donovan's palm. "Just use it right. You sure you're ready for what comes next?" Jordan's smile was grim. "I've been sick over this for years. Let the truth do its job." That night, Donovan, Kendra, and Nicolette huddled over a laptop. 4 files loaded. Tiana slept upstairs, exhausted after therapy. The screen flickered to life. The first video was dashcam footage from 3 years earlier. Halverson slammed a teenage boy onto the hood of a squad car during a routine traffic stop. The kid wasn't even the driver, just a passenger, sobbing as his wrists were wrenched behind his back. The second file was a side-by-side comparison. Final report, edited bodycam footage next to original, raw. The edits were surgical, trimmed shouts, deleted threats, moments where Halverson's grip turned brutal, erased with a keystroke. Kendra's knuckles whitened around her coffee mug. They doctored it. Nicolette exhaled through her teeth. They've been doing this for years. The third clip showed Halverson at a training seminar, laughing as he mocked protesters. His jokes weren't just offensive, they were calculated, the kind of venom that drips from someone who knows he's untouchable. The fourth file was a buried memo. Internal complaints. 2 officers who'd tried to report Halverson had been reassigned. One quit 6 months later. Donovan closed the laptop. "We release all of it. No blurring. No redactions." Nicolette leaned forward. "You sure? This'll tear the department apart." He didn't hesitate. "Let it tear." Nicolette dropped the story at 6 a.m. Not just the footage, the full exposé. A pattern of violence and silence inside Modesto PD. By noon, it was trending statewide. Reporters swarmed the gym again. City Hall called emergency meetings. That afternoon, the district attorney stood at a podium, face grim. Officer Brett Halverson is charged with aggravated assault, falsifying records, and obstruction of justice. He is no longer employed by this department. Donovan watched the broadcast from the gym's front desk. Arms crossed, no smile, no relief. This wasn't over. A week later, the town hall meeting was standing room only. Cops lined the back wall, jaws tight. Parents held kids on their laps. Donovan stepped to the mic, voice steady. This was never about one bad cop. It's about the system that hid him, the people who watched him hurt kids and stayed silent, the culture that teaches us to swallow our pain. His gaze found Jordan in the back row. The officer gave a nearly imperceptible nod. My daughter shouldn't be a footnote in your training manual. She should be the reason you do better. The applause wasn't polite. It was thunder. The fallout was swift. The police chief resigned. City Council launched an audit of internal affairs. A civil rights organization opened a Modesto branch. Halverson sat in county jail awaiting trial. At home, Tiana was healing. The sling was gone. The stiffness in her arm lingered, but her laugh had returned, bright and unguarded. One evening, Donovan found her in the backyard, throwing left-handed jabs at the dusk. "Switching stances on me?" he teased, holding up his palms. She grinned. "Got to keep you guessing." He caught her punches easily. "Not bad, but plant your feet." "I am," she huffed. "It's harder with one arm." Donovan ruffled her hair. "Sometimes that's all you need." 3 months later, the Monroe house breathed easier. Tiana was back at school, the scar near her elbow, her battle mark, peeked under her sleeve when she reached for her sketchbook. The gym had transformed too. Self-defense classes for girls, legal rights workshops, after-school study hours. Kendra organized most of it, juggling spreadsheets and volunteer schedules. Donovan renamed the place the Monroe Center after Tiana. A local artist donated a mural for the far wall, a girl on a cracked sidewalk, hoodie draped over one shoulder, light slicing through the concrete above her. Not hopeful, not tragic, just true. Then came the question at dinner. "Can I walk to school again?" Tiana asked, pushing peas around her plate. "With friends, the long way." Kendra's fork froze. Donovan set down his water glass. It wasn't fear in their silence, just the quiet ache of parents who'd learned how fragile safety really was. "You sure?" he asked. Tiana nodded. "I don't want to be scared of sidewalks." Donovan smiled. "Then go own it." And they didn't make it a spectacle. No cameras, no speeches, just a Tuesday morning, 3 backpacks and the crunch of gravel underfoot. When they passed the corner, Tiana paused, looked down, then up, and kept walking. That afternoon, a new kid showed up at the gym. Eli, 10 years old, small for his age, fingers knotting the hem of his shirt. Donovan knelt beside him. "First time in a gym?" A nervous nod. "Scared?" Another nod. Donovan chuckled. "First time I stepped in a ring, I forgot how to breathe." Eli blinked up at him. "Did you get beat up?" "Not that day." A pause. "But later?" "Yeah, plenty." "Why'd you come back?" Donovan glanced at the mural, at the girl on the wall standing tall in fractured light. "Because getting hurt isn't the end. It's what you do after that counts." He clapped Eli on the shoulder. "Let's get to work." That night, Donovan sat in his office. A notepad open under the lamplight, a single line. Justice doesn't start when someone's punished. It starts when the next kid doesn't have to be afraid. He flicked off the light. Outside, the street was quiet. The sidewalk empty. For now,